fine.
All right. So anyway, I don't know if you want to identify yourself, but basically, you've had some paranormal experiences, and what we're going to do here is essentially figure out what we can do to help you out with this. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Go
yeah.
for it. All right. So tell us what
I'll start with
happened. Yeah.
I'll start with last summer, 2017. Let's see, in June, I decided to do a parasite cleanse because I've been having issues with chemical allergies for some years, and it's been really a trying experience for me. So I do a lot of holistic healing practices, and so I started doing a course of wormwood tincture,
Hmm.
and it was very weakening. It made me really sleepy,
Hmm.
and I didn't have a lot of physical energy. And so
Okay.
one
Why
day,
did you choose the wormwood? Just out of curiosity.
I did some research, and the research I found indicated that that was a really powerful anti-parasitic plant, and it resonated with me on an intuitive level.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
and so I started with a pretty small dose and worked my way up to kind of the maximum I felt like I could handle. And I paired it with a dietary protocol for that time as well. It was something akin to a Whole 30, if you're familiar with that. Um, and my my regular diet, as it is pretty close to that, so it didn't take a lot of huge changes to get there. So I did that protocol for 30 days, and I don't remember the exact date, but it was middle or end of June. I live in an RV, and there's just a little bunk over the cab. So just so you get an idea of how small my living space is, I went up into the bed, and I was laying there, and my body was immobilized, and I found my consciousness transported to something like that white matrix room,
Uh-huh.
where it's kind of the loading room, and
Hmm.
I was told, um, we're getting prepped, we're prepping you for a mission. And I said, what's the mission? And they outlined it that I was going to go into this enemy camp, the Daesh camp, and I was going to go with the team, and we were going to recover an artifact. And I said, why me? And they said, because you're the one who can carry the artifact. And I just kind of accepted that, and I said, who are you? And the voice said, we're the White Hats.
Uh-huh.
And this was before QAnon, came on and starting using that terminology, and I was pretty skeptical about there being any white hats doing these kind of psychic operations.
Hmm.
But I I sort of had a moment to check in with the veracity of the claim with my own intuition,
Hmm.
and I got, yes, this is real in terms of
Did you see me there by any chance?
what's that?
Did you see me by any chance?
No, I didn't see anybody. There wasn't a
Oh, okay.
person there. It was just more of a voice.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
and a door opened up, and at first it was almost like a video game loading. It was really like pixelized, and then it more like clarified into something very realistic. I stepped through the door into a personnel chopper, and I I trained with the Army National Guard, and I recognized somebody who'd been a platoon leader when I was in basic,
Uh-huh.
and I had a battle, and she was the kind of the ninja of the unit. She was a
Uh-huh.
tactical sniper, so she had on pretty light gear, and she's pretty small. Like she was Asian American,
Uh-huh.
and it was me, her, the guy I remember being a platoon leader. He was our squad leader, and then there was another guy that I recognized from basic, and I don't know if these were the real people or just avatars, but because it could have been set up to make me feel comfortable. But there was this guy who was training for the infantry when I was in basic with him, and he was the guy carrying the big guns, and the squad lead had a pretty large tactical weapon as well. But so we were in the personnel chopper in the back, and of course, there's the pilot of the helicopter up front. But they dropped the four of us off, just this little squad, in the woods, and there are just light trees and fairly light foliage, but it's pretty lush, kind of like Mediterranean, and sandy soil. And I just had the sense that we were on this narrow island, and I had the feeling that it was in the Mediterranean. Well, so we walk through the woods to the end, and we're moving in tactical formation, moving very cautiously, taking cover. And I see the guard post from my position, and there's one watchman. There's one posted on the guard tower over there, and then there's another guard tower like diagonally at the other corner of the little fort. And there's essentially this little fort just made with like chopped down trees, and the poles on the outer perimeter wall are they've been cut so that they're pointed.
Right.
And they're lashed together.
Right.
And so it's not like the strongest of points, but it's this, I can tell it's this like in between area. And so at that point, the squad leader sent my battle buddy up to take out the guardsmen on the tower, and she almost snuck up on him without him being aware, but he detected her at the moment when she was about to make a killing strike on him, and he took her out. He shot her, which the sound alerted, put everybody on alert, and the squad leader said, "Can you handle this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he's like, "I need you to go take her position." And she had a sniper rifle. No, the guard had a sniper rifle. So I climbed up the tower. She wounded him before he took her out. She was up there and dead, and I made sure that the guard was dead, and I took his rifle, and he was bleeding out. If he wasn't already dead, he was close to it. But anyway, I was able to take his rifle, and I was able to cover for the rest of the squad. So they went in, I covered the shot, and I remember just aiming with the sniper rifle and picking off a few guards. And when we had sort of taken care of everybody, there weren't too many people there. I left the rifle, climbed back down the tower, and caught up with the rest of the squad, and they were pushing off the rest of the Daesh. Now, in the middle of this little encampment, there was a crate, and inside the crate, packed in straw, was this artifact shaped like an egg. And as I looked at it, it was changing composition and changing size. It was kind of ballooning up into something that, would fit into my, outstretched arms, back down to something that could fit in the palm of my hand. And it was changing, all these beautiful colors, but I recognized labradorite as one of the compositions, one of the forms it was taking. It took the form of opalite. When it was really huge, it looked more like opalite, like a kind of translucent bluish and pink. And when I took hold of it, it took the smaller form and it held that shape. And Wiley got it. I said, I got it. And so we could hear reinforcements coming from someplace else, and so squad leader said, let's move, move, move. And so we went through the rest of the camp to the other side and back into the woods on the other side, and we were heading towards this, like, what looked like a peninsula on the island, where there was a little, like a pontoon boat, and we got in the pontoon boat because we were going to get picked up further down the shore, and the Daesh were like, they weren't within firing range, but they were close enough that I could hear them. And we got onto the boat. I didn't make it back to the chopper before I was pulled back out, and I was back in my body and I could move. And I came back with the feeling, wow, I think I was on Cyprus. And I've never been to the island of Cyprus. I've never been to the Mediterranean. I've never really looked at close-up pictures of Cyprus either, but I went
That's your
to
intuition
Google
tells
Maps.
you, right?
Yeah, and I went to Google Maps, and it looked like the place that I was at. So I was like, okay, I guess I was on Cyprus doing this mission, and I got the sense that the artifact was something that was robbed from the Daesh, because, you know, they've been raiding all of these holy sites and taking these ancient artifacts to try and destroy them. Well, the white hats are intercepting as many of those artifacts as they can to try and recover them. And when I came away with that knowledge, I was like, okay, this is good and fine, but my compunction says don't work for free, and not just blindly. And so I said, okay, I want compensation and proof. If you're have me doing this work for you, I want to be taken care of, because my situation is in pretty dire straits. I haven't been able to work in the mundane world for several years. And I went to Rainbow Gathering shortly after, because nationals were in the state that I live. And so I'm in Okeechobee National Forest. I'm not afraid to give that location away, because whatever, it's Rainbow Gathering. Anybody can look up the nationals. So I went, and they have this trade circle off of the main meadow, and it's just along the dirt road, the access road, going into the gathering by the welcome home booth. And I'm walking through the trade circle, and there's a guy who had this, like, really a kid. He might have been like 18 or 19. And he had a blanket in front of him, and sitting on the blanket was an egg, a stone egg, and it was about the size, people call them yoni eggs, and it was pretty simple. It's like an Amazon
just one egg?
egg.
That's it? The whole blanket? Just one egg?
There was a bunch of other stuff too, but what stood out to me most was the egg, and then there was a Shivalingam next to it, which has been a stone of power for me as well, and I had one that I lost a time ago. And I said, this egg is really speaking to me, and I don't really have anything to trade, but I do reading. And he said, okay, read me. And first I told him, this egg really speaks to me because I had a vision about it, and I told him in brief what I just told you. And he said, then that's yours. You can have that, because you went on the mission. And I was like, wow, I shouldn't have been too surprised, because it's Rainbow Gathering. But he took it seriously and was like, well, that's yours. And then I said, well, the Shivalingam also speaks to me, but I don't have trade. I can do readings. And he says, read me. So I gave him the reading, and it just I can open up to source, and things will just kind of come to me. And I told him the message, and he was like, yeah, that's yours too now. And so there I had the validation was this guy taking this account seriously. Like, yeah, you're a psychic soldier. You did that. Here's your reward. And then the egg itself being there, and it was the color that it took when I was holding it was this green and gold. It was almost like, well, it's Amazonite and pyrite powdered, and then they reform it with a glue, so made of crystals, to put it back together, which is really cool. And so when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Interesting.
In physical reality, yeah. So that happened, and I kind of accepted, okay, I'm a psychic soldier, I guess. And then, let's see, around the same time that I found your work, I also, just before that, I listened to somebody that was interviewed by Jordan Sather. I don't remember the person's name that he interviewed, but he interviewed somebody who was in the secret space program and was taken for what's called a 20 and back.
Right.
And I have this experience where I sense something is in my memory, but it's locked, and then it'll be opened when I hear someone talk about a similar experience. And so I'm pretty cautious of that, because I always wonder, well, could that just be like a resonance and something that I'm trying to find externally that anchors what I'm feeling, or something. But in any case, it did trigger this opening of memories from this time when I was 12. It was the springtime. I was living in Tennessee, and there were tobacco fields across the street from my house, and then the road led north and went into a private gated area where the land beyond that was leased to cattle farmers. And I think the tobacco field was a leased thing too, and it was all owned by the Zinc Minier Company. And I was in my room, and I heard my mom say, "Go outside." My mom's a practical joker, so I went outside expecting her to jump out in some kind of hockey mask with a plastic machete or something creepy. So I'm already on edge when I go outside, and I look out in the yard, and she's gone inside to get her camera. Even though I didn't know that yet, but I'm outside just waiting for her to come back out. And I look out in the road. I see these lights that look like a semi truck. That's my first thought: is, oh, there's a semi truck. That's weird, because these lights are going along the road in like perfect formation, as though they're on a semi-truck. And then I realized in a split second, wait, there's not any noise from the engine. And then as soon as I realized there's not any noise from the engine, the lights disappear. And I go, oh, that's weird. And I'm just kind of standing outside dazed, and my mom comes back outside. She's got the camera, and she said, "Did you see it?" And I said, "I saw something. What are you talking about?" And she goes, "That." I feel like it should be obvious. She points over through the trees, and there's this orb. At first I thought it was the moon, and I was like, no, wait, that's the west, and the moon's not out right now. And it's about that color of when the rising moon is like golden white, just before it turns to that silvery color when it first rises, and it's more golden. And it looked to be oscillating, and it was hovering over the ground, and my neighbors came out. They filmed it. Their tape worked after we filmed it, but my mom's tape was all static. So this was before the movie Contact came out, so I didn't really figure out what that could signify. So during that time when my mom had the camera, she was filming some of it, and then she turned it off and said, "Hey, let's cross the gate." And my dad says, "Okay, let's cross the gate." And my sister is a chicken, so she stayed behind. But I went with my mom and dad, and we crossed the gate to the other side of the road. And beyond it was still paved. It didn't cut off into dirt or anything. It was still paved. But we walked for a time until the road curved a little bit, and then all of us got the creeps around the same time, and we just decided to turn back around. And from that experience, there were also like Black Hawk helicopters flying in. My dad called the base that night and tried to figure out what's going on. They told him it was a flare. the orb that we were seeing was a flare, and he said, I know what a flare looks like. That's not no gosh darn flare. And, you know, I remember the rest of the night pretty clearly, but I've always wondered what happened when me and my parents went down that road. Because I just over the years I put some things together, and since my mom's tape was static, that was not a normal thing for her camera, for it to just be wiped like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense that something had changed, I started having, I mean, this is also around the time that I hit puberty, so that's the time that girls start having these experiences, but I started having, like, dreams about vampires and really vivid dream experiences where I would have to confront some kind of hideous monster or situation and do battle. And other things over time. There were memories that I had that I thought were past life memories, but now I realize that they could be from this 20 and back. So I am at the point where I feel like I'm ready to unpack some of those memories, but like I told you before, I'm experiencing a lot of cognitive dissonance because I also have some doubt, like, what if this is just a dream experience? What if this is from, I don't know, there's this one guy who, this one guy, after I'd had the experience of finding the stone at Rainbow Gathering, there was this guy claiming to be a paranormal psychologist. And I had actually read one of his articles before and thought about writing him an angry letter because he was just talking bogus. But I didn't realize it was the same person, and he tried to get me to talk about my experiences, but then he was saying, you know, I want to make sure you're an accountable witness, and that you say the same thing.
Fuck that.
And then, you know, his whole obsession is with archetypal possession. If anybody searches archetypal possession, they'll probably come up on this writer. And he argues that he thinks all 9/11 conspiracy theorists are anti-Semitic. To give people a window to his kind of lack of rationality. And the archetypal possession thing is basically saying that these spiritual entities are dangerous, that they're not they don't have our best interest in mind, and that they can hijack our energy and use it to their benefit. And so it's almost like he's taken Carlos Castaneda's writing about the non-organic beings and then projected that onto the organic devas. Like, these archetypes are things like mother, father. You know, those are very organic, and those are very much a part of the cycle of life. So I knew he was just talking a line of crap. First when I read that article, and then later when I had the conversation with him. But nonetheless, that possibility, you know, that doubt stays with me. I kind of like to stay, have at least part consideration for that, because I have a tendency to go just to dive into an ideological system and to accept it wholeheartedly. And so
okay, well, when you want to start here, okay, this is a good place for you to just stop right now and start, okay, because this is a good bring us back to the beginning, which is your observation skills. Okay, the first thing you got to learn when you're observing all this crazy shit is that you've got to take everything with a grain of salt, and you don't attach any emotion to it whatsoever. Okay, you file everything away. You don't say I believe this or I don't believe it, but you file it away. You deal with it when you're ready to deal with it, and you don't attach, whatever you do, you don't attach emotion to it. All right. Now, the other thing is that the whole super soldier shit. Okay, obviously this sounds a lot like a My Lab situation, which is not necessarily something you want because you don't have control. Whereas the other hand, is that a lot of people that work with me are people that that they want to work. You have first of all, you have to want to do this. Okay, so somewhere along the line, you had to decide that you want to do this, and you have to
Yeah.
get that from somewhere. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
now,
yeah, that's something
did
from
you ask
my early.
did you ask to be doing this somewhere along the line?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
have. I mean, I signed up for the military and I took the oath to defend and protect the Constitution. And throughout my 20s, I kept having dreams where
All right.
I get
Well, you believe
to,
in
like,
Jesus? Do you believe in Jesus first of all?
I believe in Christ.
All right.
I don't,
Christ,
I,
Jesus, fine. That's
yeah,
fine. That's good enough.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Obviously, Christ is an entity that is much, much older than the person that was here on Earth for 35 years or whatever it is,
yeah,
way back when.
yeah,
It's the same
yeah,
person, but it's a much larger entity than people attribute to the one that was here just for a brief period of time.
yeah,
Now, okay, this is important because when you're doing this stuff, that's like, all the power and everything, that's where it comes from.
yeah,
Okay? And if it's not coming from there, then you're definitely not in control. Okay,
yeah,
because it's like monsters and the creepiest, craziest shit that you could deal with. That's the only way you can defeat that is
yeah.
with that energy, that intention. Okay, the name. Okay,
The name of
uh,
Christ and the light of Christ. I'm a firm believer in the light of Christ
yeah,
and the power of Christ.
it works really really
Yeah,
good. Yeah, okay, good.
yeah,
Um,
very.
but yeah, well, that's very very important. First of all, you got to get that out of the way. First of all, now back to this whole mission business. I
Sure.
can tell you a little bit about the stone thing, what that really is, what that means, because I you know, I have a good impression. The information of what it is, I think, actually came to me uh, the other day from a physicist in the UK was talking about this stuff. Was trying to explain it to me. Something. All right. It's sort of like, and again, this is very just. I'm going to give you a little intuitive explanation. It's not intended to be accurate. It's just what I'm feeling here. Okay, and that
Mhm.
is, it's like a matter. It's like a capacitor, if you will, that contains intention. Only it contains all the intention at once. So in other words, it's like when you have an intention, it's usually a sine wave, and in this
Yeah.
particular thing has it's like it's flat. It's like, in other words, it's like if sine waves were water, this thing would be completely full. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and just flat, like just. But at the same time, it encompasses all this potential for creation. Okay, that's why it kind of fluctuates. It's sort of like if
Right.
you were to take. Okay, you know the concept of. Let me see. What they call it? Squiggle. Squiggle, is that it? No, I can't. I don't know. Anyway, it's a they have a funny name for it. I can't remember the name for it. But basically, what it means is that it's sort of like matter just waiting to be turned into something, or it's not even matter. It's like not even antimatter, but it's soft matter, if you will. But
Right, like the potential for matter.
right. But what it is it's not just soft matter. It's like a capacitor full of soft matter. It's charged up with soft matter.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like a
yeah,
bank. It's like a matter
yeah.
soft matter bank is what it is.
Yeah, that resonates for sure. Yeah, I had the sense that I was carrying, like the phrase "cosmic egg" came to mind for me. Like this is the potential to birth another universe.
Like
If
exactly
I wanted
everything exactly.
to.
That's exactly what it is. It's like
Yeah,
anything that you could imagine this thing could produce.
yeah, and
Like
I had the sense that it was like in that moment I was like, oh yeah, I am on the right side because this really should not be in the hands of the dice because I
yeah.
knew what they were going to use that for.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that was there was a lot of stuff in Syria, no doubt, and there was a lot of stuff in Iraq. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in Iraq, and certainly
Yeah,
anytime there's probably Palmyra, of course, is a very ancient city, and they could have lost a lot of stuff in Palmyra,
yeah,
and they obviously lost a lot of stuff in Iraq,
yeah,
and That's very unfortunate. I feel really bad about that because I'm kind of close to those people. Especially, I have friends in Syria, and I know the stuff that happened in Palmyra was really awful.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's been hellacious. Another coincidence that reaffirmed my experience that I had was the moment that I walked into Rainbow Gathering. I walked up to the home booth, and they're at the booth welcoming people, saying "Welcome home" to people. There's a Saudi Arabian American, there's an Egyptian American, and then there's a Syrian American. So there's a Saudi Arabian immigrant, Egyptian American-born, Syrian American-born, just lined up right there, like
That's
a welcoming party. It was really powerful.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, well, let's.
Since then, things have started to change too in that area.
We this is the thing, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, I obviously collect people like you, certainly, and because we've, especially those of us that have been used for this stuff, maybe not necessarily on things that we wanted to do, but when we do stuff that we want to do, especially like this whole JEDI business. And I don't talk about this in public. I certainly don't talk about this in QAnon. You know what I'm talking about, right? The
children, yeah, the children that are getting.
Yeah. All right, the super soldier stuff. Okay.
Okay.
I don't talk about the super soldier stuff. Going down there and battling psychics and this thing. They have a little psychic art. They had a psychic army down there. I don't know about this. Okay, let me tell you something. We had a mission.
I visited there a few nights ago. There's still a psychic army.
There's still a psychic army, son of a bitch. Are they new or what? What's the deal?
I don't know. Thinking back on the experience I had, it seems like they refreshed their group.
Oh God! All right, this is what I thought. I thought this is what they did. The guys that were there were sacrificial lambs. Okay.
Okay.
It's almost like they put these. They always keep like a couple hundred of these people there. And it was, from my impression, it was like a skeleton crew, and that these people that were there were like waiting to get slaughtered so that someone else didn't get slaughtered. And and that's kind of, so I'm a little discouraged about that. But you see, that's sort of, what it was. I guess the first time we went down. All right, this is what. Let me just explain this, and hopefully this will resonate with you. For a while, we were doing this negotiation stuff, right? Going down there and saying, "Hey, man, you need to give it up. We're not going to kill you. It's going to be okay. We'll make sure that nobody cuts your heads off and all this stuff. And you just got to stop what you're doing. And the best thing to do is start helping us, to convince the others to give up and all that stuff. And it's got to stop, and convincing that, because first." They went through all these phases, okay? They were like, who in the fuck are you? Who do you think you are? What makes you think you can do shit? You can't do shit. You're fucking nothing. All that kind of shit, right? And then it's the shit's going down. Then you start fucking up their shit, and they're all, oh, wow. I knew this was going to happen someday, but wow, it's happening. Okay, then they kind of get this acceptance thing.
Okay.
Which is sort of weird. Maybe you've experienced that, but the thing is that
it's I actually have to deal with this.
Right, but they think they're all tough and all that. You can't do nothing, and then you just do it, or you just say Christ's name, and they've just gone instantly. And
they get surprised.
They're like, oh, it's so easy.
Oh, you can say that. Well,
it's all dark. And you turn the lights on, and they're like, "Oh, wow, look at that." And anyway, but okay, this is the thing, though.
Okay.
All right, right before Thanksgiving, I got really, really pissed off, kind of frustrated about all this crap, and I had been trying to program everybody. I don't want to say program, but I've been working on this JEDI army, try to get all the psychics to work together on this thing.
Right.
And one night, I can remember it was right after a show, and I had kind of worked up into a frenzy and got everybody ready to go to war, right?
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that night we did it, and it was like a 3 day operation because it's like the next 3 days I spent in bed and almost, you know, you get up and eat a little bit and you go back to bed kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't really know why I was doing this, but I do remember. This is a funny thing. In fact, we're making a movie, and this is going to be in the movie. But I remember laying there in bed, and I have this team member on the other side, right? And the team member said, "It's time." And
Yeah.
my alter just like got up, fully dressed, you know, with gear, not totally geared out. There wasn't any armor or nothing like that. And I grabbed. I had two guns sitting there. I had an MP5 and
Mhm.
I had an like an M4 sitting there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
A rag.
and then I yeah. And then I had a ammo can, picked
Okay.
up the ammo can, opened it up, and it was all nothing but 9mm in there, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, take the MP5, and that's
Yep.
it. I remember this is all like, you know, fourth density stuff. I remember I had a black bag, canvas bag, gear bag, and
Okay.
I dropped the ammo in there, and I dropped that MP5, and I took
Okay.
off.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember. And this is the
Huh.
thing. I talked to my alter, okay? I mean, I deal with psychics and stuff, okay? Now, I can
Yeah.
explain to you some really crazy shit. I can explain to you how all this shit works, okay? Because I've talked to my alter.
Yeah.
And my alter is a real fucking badass, and I call him Rambo.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
have you heard me
Yeah.
talk about Rambo before?
I have, and as you're talking about him, I can kind of see him.
You can
Like
kind of
he
see
looks
him,
like
man.
you, only he's
He,
like a
he's a stud.
beefcake.
He's a stud. Yeah, he looks like me, but he's a stud. Exactly. That's
Mhm.
Rambo.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rambo's really fucking active right now, and it's getting
So
to
did
where I can pretty much ask
yeah.
him to do anything, and it's cool. I mean, it's interesting, but the thing is I'm not supposed to remember anything
Okay.
because Rambo isn't exactly he's not your okay, let me just put it this way. There's a level between Jesus and God, okay?
Right. Yeah.
And this is to me, this is sort of I refer to this level as the golden pillars. And what it is it's sort of like God's Praetorian Guard, so to speak. Okay? And that's what Rambo is. Rambo's one of these characters. And when they're on this level, they're actually not just one person, they're multiple people. And from what
Yeah.
I know, there's like five. Rambo's
Yeah.
like actually five people.
Yeah.
And
They're
I
like the army of Indra.
exactly they're God's. I look upon these guys as like God's rib cage.
Yeah.
God being the heart, and these guys are protecting God like a rib cage protects the heart, kind
Uh-huh.
of thing. And they
Uh-huh.
sort of
Yeah.
beat together, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Sort of something like that.
Yeah.
Very unhuman. You know, I don't see when you get up that high, you're not looking at humans anymore. You're looking at something else.
Yeah.
But
Like David
um,
and
yeah, they're more like shapes and stuff. These guys look like to me they look like pillars. And then God, of course, just looks like a light sort of thing. But and the pillars are sort of like around the light. That's how it's
yeah.
set up. But anyway, so
Yeah.
so Rambo's job is to sort of is to take out Lucifer.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Mhm.
it's sort of like Lucifer is kind of has a very high rank because he's sort of up there with Jesus, so to speak. You know, obviously Jesus is more powerful,
Yeah.
but God's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, God's actually going to pull out the big gun to deal with this, and so that's what Rambo is. Now, what
Mhm.
Rambo does is Rambo operates on every single level at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's like 8 levels or 9 levels or something like this. As far as I know, is that's what I think's going on. And what I do is I'm just like the Rambo on this level, this level right
Yeah.
here,
Mhm.
and I can't really, I don't really have any super. Well, I do have some powers, of course, but you know, but the thing is that what I sort of do is I have to use my persuasive skills to make reality change for people so that the
Mhm.
people on the other side can do what they need to do.
Yeah.
kind of a thing. In other words, we have to sort of all work together.
Right.
And this is where, and right now the other side can't really help us until we sort of wake up, and that's sort of where I come in.
Yeah, we have to ask. We have to accept.
Exactly, we have to ask. Yeah.
I think Paul's letter about grace.
Well,
The grace
right,
is offered. It doesn't become actualized until we accept it.
All right, but this is the thing about the Graves and all those guys, okay?
Grace.
Oh, Grace. Yeah, Grace, of course. Actually, yeah, very good. Thank you.
I don't really want to talk about the Grace. No, if you want to talk about the Grace,
no, I'm just going to say all these aliens out there, the Anunnaki, the Gray Guy, and the Reptoid, the Draco, these guys are all bad. And a lot of them come off as being nice and reasonable and loving and everything else, but it's not real, and it's not of the proper... It's sort of like when you get into the higher level of density, you don't have the ability to move from one side to the other like we do here.
Right.
Okay, in other words, because of our dual polarity of the third density, we can be good people and bad people, and we're always ever changing, and we're not stuck. But the idea is that if you're only 49% service to others, as opposed to service to self, then you fail, and you're going to be one of them.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that right now we're fighting pedos and all this stuff and Satanists, but eventually we're going to be fighting these alien types, and this is for the whole universe, actually. So the super soldier Jedi thing that we're putting together right now, it really is Jedi, okay? Because it has to happen pretty quick. But as you know, psychic stuff does happen really quick.
Yes.
Okay, and but here's another thing: is that right now, you're dealing with like weapons and body armor and all this stuff. You don't have to do it like that. There's other ways to do it. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's the way they're going to have you do it, and that's what you're used to, and that's what you're trained to. A lot of times, the stuff that you use are things that you were trained with because you got this tactile stimulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been you know what it feels like in your hands. You've had that experience, so you can manipulate that reality and create it. I used to, when it was in my gun business, I used to love to hand a gun to a small child and say, "Here, feel that, and next time you're having a nightmare, you're going to have this gun."
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah, definitely.
Those are the days.
Really clever. That's a really clever trick to empower a child. Remember this feeling when you're having a nightmare. You can access it. Yeah, simple.
Pull it up.
Short.
Pull it up.
Yeah, definitely. So do you want to hear about my little scouting trip I took a few nights ago?
Where'd you go? Did you go to the JEDI? Yeah, definitely. I want to hear about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I just decided to check it out and see what's like after the war, because I listened to you talk about that. Bless you. Gesundheit.
Sorry.
So, I was able to get down to the city, and the first level, I saw the bank of psychics, and to me they looked like people wearing white robes, but at the same time I sensed that was a projection. That was they wanted to appear that way, probably to
that was kind of confuse you. You know what they were doing? They might have been trying to confuse you with the children. Okay? That might have been it. Yeah, I think that's probably what they're trying to do.
So what I did notice is that there weren't really so many there, and they didn't really look like they were working very hard. I got the impression of tiredness and that they had been worn down. And they weren't really able to keep me from entering, so I do think that level of defense was knocked down. I was able to pass freely. Yeah. And the chambers I went through, like the Caligula stuff, that I was prepared for that, and so I steeled my nerves, and said, okay, this is just something I'm going to have to compartmentalize because I'm just here to look. I'm not here to fight right now until I get, some marching orders. I'm not going to go in there by myself. And I've got a team too, but I'm not going to try and face that. And they kind of just permitted me to look, but it was like they didn't have any choice. They weren't really able to keep me out if they had tried, because of what had happened. And I got the sense that had nothing to do with me, so I assumed that it's from the 3-day battle back in November. So I was able to get down to the city and just look, and I saw a huge complex underground city, maglev train, lots of traffic. Nobody really saw me. I was able to cloak myself, or they acted like they didn't see me if they saw me. And I just kind of observed, just felt that overwhelming evil, which is, now that I'm recalling it in conscious awareness, it's just nauseating to me. Mm-hmm. And it was like being in LA, but inverted, because as empty and vacuous as the people in LA are, this is like if they had no chance of redeeming themselves.
Yeah, really, huh?
That's pretty.
All right, so you totally can see what we're up against here, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, well, you know what? All right, just psychologically, really quick.
Okay.
This, all right, let me just define that feeling that you were accessing there, that hopelessness thing. That is the biggest stumbling block that we have to being able to get technically, we have to get them to give it all up. We have to get them to join us. And the thing is that they know they've blown it. They know they fucked up. They know they're screwed, and they know that we're winning and all that. But at the same time, they're afraid we're going to kill them and all that. But the biggest thing of all that they miss is the family and the human connection, because they've rejected that whole humanity thing. They've been hating humanity, and they want humanity to bring them in. And it's this family love, familial. This is the thing. And again, this is the hard thing to train people, because look at QAnon. When we talk about the pedophiles, they're like, we're going to burn them and hang them and cut their heads off and everything else. And obviously, these people know that. They see these posts. Mm-hmm. They know all these things. And why? So they have no motivation, no incentive to cooperate at all.
So there's a window there to be able to designate. We want to burn the unrepentant ones. So basically, just setting the distinction to them between, if you come in peace now, if you choose to believe in yourself, in your ability to take steps towards redemption, essentially towards repentance, they're still.
But it is a two-way street, though. All right, let me tell you something. Now, I don't know what you had to go through to get down there, but it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't that easy. But it seems like one of the things that we had to deal with was like dealing with like locks and doors, and half the time these locks and these doors, they're not so much something physical, but they're more like commitments and conditions. Like, okay, we're gonna honor this agreement. Click, click. Okay, now we're gonna spiritually grow in this direction. Click, click. That kind of a thing. Okay. So, and again, that's that whole you can't be a savage thing, and this is why. This is one of the reasons why. In fact, this is probably one of the most important jobs we have. We have to connect the 3D to the 4D, the 5D, the 6D, etc. Okay. And we have to teach the people on the 3D how to be more 4D. And the biggest thing of all is this unconditional love. Okay, it's hard as hell. Look at all the people running around breaking up and hating their exes and things like that. that's all part of it. That's kind of a manifestation of what I'm talking about. Or, for
Yeah.
instance, I'll give you another perfect example. This is where one of the ones that got me a lot, and that was Israel. How in the hell could I have any love for Israeli soldiers? You
Right.
know, no way. You'd think it's impossible. But the only way you can do it is when you realize that everybody is the same person.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then you
We
go,
are all
oh, yeah, yeah.
kids.
We're all the same person, taking turns having this life experience in a different body,
Yeah,
all at
we're
the
all
same time. Yeah,
incarnated facets of the oversoul.
right. So when you're in that particular body, looking out and having this experience through the eyes of that particular body, sure, all this stuff going on in front of you is like a movie, but it's the same movie for everybody at the same time, happening at the same time, and what you're doing in all those other bodies at the same time, because there's no such thing as time,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
this is how they say, oh well, you know, Jesus can't be with everybody at the same time. It's, well, yeah, that's easy to do because there's only one person to be with,
Yeah. Right. Well, and
technically.
there is no time, and Christ
Technically,
transcends time, so Jesus wouldn't
right?
have a problem.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Although there are limitations, and obviously Jesus has less limitations than other entities, but certain entities do have limitations, like your basic alien, lesser demon type character can only be on one density, well, at one time. So in other words, if they're on the fourth density, they can make themselves appear they're on the third density, but they're not really there. But if they are there, they can only be at one place at one time. So let's say you're an alien and you're in the Pleiades, or you're in you know, Draco Reticula or whatever, and you decide, well, I want to be on Earth, and I want to be on Earth exactly at 1947 August 17th, and I'm going to
Mhm.
be in New Mexico. Well, that's a specific time vector, and you can go from one vector to another, but you can't be in more than one place at time or space at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. This is sort of the trick about what we're doing here on Earth. Is in order to have this big battle that we're having, we have to get all these entities that are in all these different times, because they're doing phase shifting and all that stuff, to all phase shift to here at the same time.
Oh wow.
That's the big battle. That's the so-called Armageddon. That's what this is all
Okay.
about.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now you know.
Yeah.
Do, 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 do. Then I get to go home. All right.
Right. Um.
Right.
Yeah. The QAnon posts have kind of blown me away for that. I actually, at one point, struggled to find compassion for soldiers fighting for the U.S. because I was watching this illegal war unfold. Um. You know, like 15 years ago when it started, and these people were just going to feed the machine,
Yeah.
and I could see it unfolding. But where I've been able to find compassion is that by and large, when anyone goes to defend what they think of as their country, they are doing it for their families, and they are doing it
Their
for
comrades, huh?
their fellow citizens. I'm a little burned out on the term comrade.
Well, you know, your compadres, your colleagues, your brothers
Yeah,
in arms, your
exactly.
squad. You're
And
doing it for your
as
squad.
and as you connect with your team and your platoon and your company in the military operations, it becomes for them. It becomes like a familial unit, and I was able to experience that to a limited extent. I chose a different route. When W was elected, I was like, no, I'm not going to go to the desert. And everybody said, hey, you're National Guard. You don't have to worry about getting deployed. And I was like, nah,
Yeah,
it's going to be
right.
different. It's going to be different. I don't want to go to the desert. My dad went to Desert Storm. He came back with Gulf War syndrome, all kinds of problems with his health. I don't want it. And I signed up for the National Guard because I wanted to build sandbag walls and protect the citizens of the state, from
Flood
on the
victims.
domestic level.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I took a hit of ecstasy and got chaptered out with a general under honorable conditions discharge. It was like the Army said, oh, let's just act like this never happened. Wow. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And so the unit that I was in was deployed to Iraq twice.
Really?
The unit that I would have been in, communications. And so I just I felt like I dodged a bullet. It's like, oh, well, that's what I get for listening to my intuition. I think I'm going to do that more often. Mm-hmm. But that experience has helped me be able to empathize with soldiers, and it applies to Israel just as much as to the U.S. These people are doing it for what they feel like is a good cause, and I think that's the starting point to connect and to reintroduce, to rehumanize it. Because so much of this is dehumanization, the military-industrial complex.
Well, the QAnon group is doing a really good job, I think, for all this.
QAnon is doing an excellent job, yeah.
But at the same time, though, there are quite a few people of various levels of wokeness and various levels of indoctrination that they're clinging to.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but I think, and a lot of people think the way I handle the group is a little draconian, but it's really necessary to do that because we have to be really efficient.
If you're going to maintain focus, if you're going to get the group to a focus, you need those boundaries. I've been thinking about this. Every time I get on Facebook, it's really slow and bogged down for me, so I haven't posted anything in a while. Uh-huh. But I've been meaning to post in the QAnon group that I would rather work with a small, highly efficient team than be part of a swarming, chaotic army.
Well,
every which way it wants.
Tell you, I've been building groups on Facebook for some time. Obviously, I've been doing this whole mission now for some time. But when QAnon got created, and when I really started getting involved recently, because obviously I was in Facebook jail quite a bit, things started moving really well. People were really hungry for the information. We were dumping a lot of information. And I got to tell you, it was such a pleasure to spend time in QAnon because it was so active and there's so much going on. And then once I would go back to my regular page, my regular Facebook page, I would see all this garbage that I wasn't letting into QAnon. And I'm like, why am I seeing this? All the propaganda and all the bullshit. I'm like, and all the trolls. I'm like, I go, oh yeah. In fact, I don't even want to look at my regular page anymore. I can just spend all my time on QAnon with people who are, actually not stupid. And we haven't.
I pretty much the QAnon page now to socialize with people because I'm fed up with normies.
It's pretty bad, huh?
Yeah, I kind of want to make like bumper stickers and T-shirts that say that, fed up with normies.
Just the people out there are my God, there's the liberals. I hate to use those terms and all that, but there are still people out there that are trying to defend the pedophiles and like,
yeah, and they put them on themselves. They're not even technically liberals, really. They're fascist, socialist, communists, and the liberals being liberal is supposed to be like about freedom, about liberty. It's in the damn name, but they're really just so dumb. I started a Twitter account and I've been dropping QAnon memes from the meme drop, the mega meme drop, and just people's responses. I'll also go and comment on like the president's tweets because there are so many trolls there. I'm just like, yeah, I support you, POTUS. Thank you for doing this for America. And people go nuts over it. One of my first posts is I put not the QAnon map, but a meme of the U.S. map and the liberal minority, the conservative majority. And it was the Electoral College kind of map. And I was like, I invite you to look at this map. Well, the original poster whose comment I was replying to ended up blocking me within like 3 comments, and I wasn't even being offensive to them. that people are still commenting on this thread that's like a month and a half old now. Keep going back to it because they just can't accept that the Electoral College elected Trump as president, and he's our president. They just cannot even handle that. They think he is such a terrible person. Meanwhile, they are justifying, people who defended Harvey Weinstein, and they're justifying Disney, and they're saying, oh, there's no way it could be a systemized pedophilic ring. It's like, oh, no, they've just busted how many pedo operations in Disneyland and Disney World? And how many executives? Nah, it can't be systemic. It's a freaking movie, but that's just an accident. That's just some animators pulling a gap. Like, they don't have editors who would see that and take care of it before it goes to production.
Well, I'll give you a couple things though to look for.
So yeah, okay.
All right, like for instance, when I first started talking about the Getty years ago, they came out with the Star Trek series, the new remake of Star Trek, the movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the second version that they put out, the movie starts off.
Yeah.
Do you know how it starts off? It's at the Getty, and he goes in a secret elevator into a secret underground place, and he blows up the secret underground base under the Getty.
Yeah.
So look at that. The movie starts out with him blowing up the secret underground base under the Getty. It's like, okay, it's gone. Forget about it. Psychological programming. There's no more secret base under the Getty. It was blown up in Star Trek. You can forget about it.
Yeah. At the same time, I see that as an actualization. This sort of energy work they try to do, it's really double-sided because on one hand, their intention may be to cover it up. But what they're actually doing by play acting the Getty blowing up is they're bringing it more into the three-dimensional reality, so it's more likely to happen.
Right. But that's also like when you got guys like Benjamin Fulford saying that the White Dragon Society has rescued the 100,000 children. It's all okay.
Yeah.
You can relax now. The fake heroes have come in. Yeah, you can relax. So psychologically, they're telling people you can relax because it's been destroyed. Nothing to see.
Yeah.
But,
and
then one more thing.
Yeah.
When obviously I do my shows, and obviously they're listening to my shows, but I try to explain to people what's going on down there, and I've said many times, they've got all the money in the world, more money than you can comprehend. So what do? They come up with a Getty movie titled "All the Money in the World." How original is that? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't follow Hollywood.
Well, I don't either, but they did that. They must have spent they must have spent $100 million or something to make that movie to try to capture the dialogue.
To try and capture it, attempts to capture it. I had a thought. What was it? When I went down there the other night, like I said, it felt like their defenses were down and they couldn't prevent me from entering. Mm-hmm. But it was surprising. All it took was for me to focus my attention. But the city was as far as I could go. And I had
You didn't see any children then. You saw the slavery then? You saw that going on, right?
I saw the slavery. I went through that like Caligula salon area, that really gross thing where they're doing the ritual torture. I didn't see it in progress because I chose not. Like, I went into it saying, okay, I'm not going to get distracted by the grotesquerie. I am not going to let that deter me.
Did you see the library? Did you see the library by any chance?
I passed through a library.
You did see the library? Cool.
This is what happened. I went down kind of through a central passage, and I would focus on going down further, and there was a level that was it was like a whole level that was a library. It was enormous. And I was there just to see how far I could go. So I got to that, said, okay, go one more level down, and until I got farther, until I got to the city. But the city like 5 levels down?
It's always for me confusing because, see, the thing about the library is it's really like 3 levels. Okay. Actually, the library is on the bottom of the 3rd level. Those 3 levels are sort of like the all about the psychics and sort of like a big Hogwarts training thing for psychics. Did you get?
Yeah,
And then the
yeah,
graduates, the high end people, they would have access to the library. And
yeah.
but and then the Caligula thing. Uh, see,
Below that,
yeah,
there's
there's
like the psychic training school, those
uh
three
huh,
levels.
right.
It's like the first level was I saw I want to call them the gang of psychics. They're
Yeah.
kind of like they're kind of like evil Bene Gesserits in a way.
Like the Nazi psychics, the so-called Nazi psychics.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They looked, I mean, almost like nuns with wimples, but really creepy. But so I got there, I was like, okay, I'm at this level, go deeper, and they couldn't stop me. So there are like the three levels of the school, with the library being the deepest of those three, and then beyond that there's like holding area for the children, and I could sense them all around, but they're in like
Yeah,
in prison. And I just kind of sent them like love and light. I'm here for you, but I can't do this yet, before I pass down further. And then below that is the Caligula area, and then
and the city and all that.
yeah, below that felt almost like an in between. Like there's some kind of organic, not quite organic-ish kind of creature that I had to like.
All right. This is the AI. There's this AI thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the AI is the collects the loosh. It's the AI acts as a connection between the 3D children and the 4D consumers.
4D consumers. Okay, that makes sense. Like the Matrix.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So in other words, instead of having like tubes and stuff sucking on you, you've got this AI tentacle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like a series of conduits and tentacles and kind of like fleshy matter.
Like a blob thing.
Yeah, blobby, but like when the Borg is taking over organic life, how they'll kind of merge. With the
exactly.
life.
Uh-huh.
Kind of
Exactly.
like that too. Contained, but fleshy. Yeah.
Okay, so you ran across the vaults of souls and all that shit too?
That the vaults of souls. I have a vague impression of that. I think. Well,
it should have been right there in the same area.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there in the same area, I'm gonna say yeah. But what I did to protect myself was, so I focused my intent on getting as far as I could get, but I also set it up in a way that I wouldn't get traumatized by anything.
Of course, you had all your filters. Yeah.
I think the vault of souls would have been like too much for the filter at the time, so I filtered it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's really hard to get past that point, I think, though. You did, so.
Yeah.
Were you able to get past that point?
I was able to just get to the city.
Okay. And so anyway, so the city was still lots of people. I mean, fancy and all that.
Yeah, there was activity. I mean, I get the impression of lots of blue and red light. It looked like nighttime. And just people going about their business. Just like drones. There wasn't anything major happening. Just like watching any city. It's just a swarm of activity.
Yeah.
And I want to say there was a center, like a downtown area. And even though I went through this like central conduit, I don't know, this like passage, it wasn't in the city center. I didn't land in the city center.
I understand.
When I came to the city, I was on the outskirts.
It's kind of like a big atrium. Would you say it's like a big atrium sort of thing?
Yeah, and it reminded me almost like the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz, where there's a central complex.
Right.
And there was quite a wall or a barrier around that central complex, but I could sense that there was a lot more concentration there, and there were a few like central tall towers. And I want to say in the middle there was like a tower, kind of like the Seattle, the Needle. Something kind of like that in the middle.
Okay.
I'm just trying to convey as much as I can remember.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
So, the other thing, one last thing I wanted to tell you about is that I haven't gotten any assignments from the White Hats since that vision last summer. But I've been able to hold my attention going into areas in a psychic level. This is my roommate coming home.
It's all good.
I'm going to step outside real quick.
Sure.
But last night I had an experience where I met a friend on the astral level as I was meditating, and he's what I want to refer to as a true knight. He's one of those people that's been caught up in the secret societies, but he believes that it's for a good cause. He's not aware of the really deep evil going on in that system yet. But I'm staying connected with him because I know that he's pure-hearted, and if he is somehow invited into that inner circle, if he sees undeniable proof, he will confront it and face it and fight it. But until that point, it can be concealed from him, I think, because he's a little blind. He's a little aspect blind to it. He doesn't want to see it unless he has to. But so I met him in the astral, and I asked him, I said to him, I need you to tell me if you see anything suspicious going on, because he's just initiated as a knight. He was asked to become a Knights Templar. I don't know if he's initiated yet, and he's a Mason. And I said, I need you to tell me if you see anything suspicious. This is what they are doing. This is what they are using the organization for. And he agreed, but as he agreed, his mouth opened up. His flesh was ripped away on his face as his mouth opened really wide, and I saw tentacles come out of his mouth, and this thing came out of his mouth, crawled, like almost discarded his body as a skin. I knew it wasn't really him. It was this being was like inside him, but had assumed his appearance and cast it off.
Well, sometimes they'll do that too, just to mess with your head, though. Also.
Right, and at first I woke up and I was like, oh shit, I woke up like from a nightmare, and I almost just dismissed it and went to sleep, and I was like, no, I'm going to stand and fight this, whatever it is. And so I went back into that level of consciousness. I can access that. I can phase in and out really easily. I don't know what that's about, but it's something that I can do. So I jumped right back in it, and I'm facing this thing with tentacles on its face, and it looks like a mantis, but it's like skin, like pale flesh colored, and has this like soft membrane around it like skin instead of an exoskeleton. And it's two eyes, but yeah, like tentacles around its mouth, and it's about 4 feet tall. But it started coming at me, and I realized I had a weapon on me, and so I grabbed it. It was a blade. It was my woodsman pal, actually, this little machete that I used for chopping wood. But I pulled from my back, and I just sliced its head off. And I was like, well, there.
There you go.
And my friend said, thanks. I've been having to deal with that thing for a while now. And I said, well, you're welcome. And then I went to sleep, and I told him about it today and in consciousness, and he said the same thing. He said, well, thanks.
Yeah, awesome.
So,
well, there you go.
I'm really interested in the psychic
okay,
army.
This was last night, though, right? This was last night you did this? Okay.
I did this last night.
Okay, as you'll notice, as you obviously noticed, this is happening very often right now.
Yeah.
And slaying these things is what we do, okay? And this is the thing, okay? It's just like I discussed about this whole not being a savage thing. When you're The nice thing about what we're doing is that we're not using any emotion whatsoever. Okay,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. I didn't
we're
feel any emotion when I did it either. It was just like one and done. Like
exactly, and
taking care of business.
it's taking care of business. We're surgeons cutting off the gangrene is what we're doing right now,
Uh,
and we don't
uh-huh.
hate it. We don't hate the enemy,
Yeah.
and we don't think about it. Uh, where there's no remorse, there's nothing like that. It's like a machine kind of a thing. All right. In
Yeah.
other words, well, like I told you earlier, we were doing this whole negotiation thing. We're not
Yeah.
really at that phase anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so this is sort of like clearing house. And I gotta tell you something. It's like when after the Getty thing, I really wanted to know, okay, what's next? What's next? So I know this is really big, and I'll
Uh-huh.
just give you a little heads up
Okay.
where this is going.
Yeah.
The big base, and in fact, if you want, you can check this out for me, okay? Because I think it's going to be really impressive. But the big
Okay.
base I'm detecting, I believe, is underneath Mount Everest, K2 or whatever that big mountain right there.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
and and I know there's another one that's really really big in somewhere in central China. But
Okay.
when I was looking in central China for the main base, okay,
Mhm.
and then I realized that the main base is a little south on the border of Tibet and China. And then
Okay.
I started looking around at where I was expecting it to be, and sure enough, it was damn Mount Everest.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
why not, right? Of course,
Right. Of
makes
course.
sense. Of course,
It makes perfect sense, especially
perfect sense.
considering like Crowley made an expedition there.
Yeah, yeah, and not only yeah, and all the other critters that abominable snowmen and all that crap. Okay, well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
There's a maybe you can help me locate it
Okay.
psychically. There's a big doorway somewhere on the side of the mountain, and I think they're flying stuff in and out of there. And it's way up high, so it's probably in the dead zone, where humans don't really go and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
not
familiar with mountain
it's
regions.
not so much that that's important and all that, but it's just to sort of reconnoiter and figure out what the hell there is. Now this is the thing.
I
There's
just
a couple things.
something. Sorry, I just got something.
Yeah, what?
Um, look at the western side.
The
The
western side.
entrance to the west. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I
I
saw.
think you're
And
right. I think that's exactly where it is.
well, that's
Uh,
where black magicians put the door on their Hogan. So,
okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that's where it is.
you know.
Yeah. You could. In fact, I think you might even be able to see it on Google Earth. But here's the thing. We're going to be able. First thing is that there is such a thing as like a Sasquatch and stuff like that, and I
Yeah.
know that they know about this stuff, and I know that there's a whole bunch of them that live right there, and they may even
Yeah.
be living inside of this range right there underground, stuff like that. And the thing is all this underground stuff hooks up. So
Mhm.
I think they can help us out. Okay, so if you could hook up to any of them psychically, that would be really good. All right, now this is the other thing. This is uh,
Do you
when I,
have a name of the psychic force? Like,
the
do
good
I just
guys, us.
yeah, the good
Well,
guys?
look, okay, just call Rambo. You don't see
Right?
Rambo?
Okay.
Call Rambo. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
All right.
yeah, just call Rambo. In
Okay.
fact, if you ever find out what Rambo's name is, let me know because from what I understand, it's really hard to pronounce. But let me ask you a question, okay?
It reminds me of a story, but yeah, ask me the
All right,
question first.
hang on, bear with me, okay? I'm gonna indulge me just for a second. Rambo has this female partner. Have you seen her?
I no,
No, you haven't
no,
noticed
not.
anybody like that.
I mean, I'm gonna say possibly, and maybe I didn't recognize
All
her
right,
as
well that's
such.
okay. No big. I'm just
I mean,
curious
it makes
because
sense to me. No, it makes sense to me that any divine masculine
there's going to be some balance thing
position
there.
would have a female wow, I almost said Kali counterpart. So
Kelly part.
Kali Ma, like she would probably be working with Kali Ma.
Uh-huh.
And I
Okay.
have a question for you, but I want to tell you
Oh, wait. Let me just finish
something.
this one thing real quick.
Okay, yes.
Okay,
What was
under
wrong?
ultimately, what we're going to run into here on Earth is Lilith. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Lilith entity, I think, is going to be like the big boss here on the Earth.
Yeah,
And
that makes kind of
yeah,
the anti mother.
right. It's not going to be a
I,
Lucifer character. It's going to be this Lilith character.
yeah, yeah, because Gaia for me is where it's at. The true Lucifer, so to speak, because she's the light bearer. And as far as I'm concerned, the Lucifer who is the Antichrist has stolen the name because
Well,
he's not the light
well,
bearer.
but this is the
He's
thing about Lucifer. Whatever Lucifer is, fallen angel, yada yada, all that. He wasn't exactly friendly to humans, and of course, the thing about Lilith and Lucifer, it was a romantic thing. Okay.
yeah,
So in other words, one of the keys to our victory in dealing with Lilith is going to be our ability to recognize that it was a love gone bad, and that we can feel sorry. So in other words, it's just like we need to get this.
compassion.
That's the true test
Yeah,
right there of unconditional love, is whether or not we can show Lilith compassion. All
yeah.
right.
I'd
And,
say that's something I would qualify that as one of my natural abilities.
maybe
Maybe
that's
it's
why
not.
you're here now.
I think so because I mean, when I was at Rainbow Gathering, I had a guy just walk up to me out of the blue, introduce himself, and say, "Yeah, I'm a risen demon. I'm an incarnated risen demon." And I went, "Okay, cool, cool. You're here because like you want to make a change." And he's like, "Yeah, I did some really bad things. I was a torturer." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks for making the choice to incarnate on this plane." And he was like a protective figure for me. I was on the verge of having some trouble. I was managing it, but he showed up right in that moment and said, "Hey, are you all right?" And
Oh,
you know,
well,
and that's the kind of people I tend to like.
uh-huh.
I can jive with the higher vibration people, but I almost find them boring. I prefer the salt of the earth, the people who've seen some shit and have had to overcome it and fight it to get to where they are. And so I definitely resonate with that compassionate level, and even for with Lilith and Lucifer,
Well,
I can
that's
totally love that.
that is a big step, and once we get past that, then we can start dealing with the Anunnaki and the Grey and the Draco and all that. But so if you want to
Yeah.
go explore in that area, that would be really cool. But there's one more thing really quick that I just need to throw out there, and that is,
Yeah.
as far as the JEDI is concerned,
Yeah.
we still need to make sure that they don't have any nuclear bombs that are still active in there. And one of the things I don't know about if it's been done or not, but I'm going to assume it's still an issue, and that is locating this nuclear bomb and deactivating it. We've been able to shut down all their shields and a lot of their projection and really cripple their Loosh collection ability. But as you can see, they're still doing it. So.
Yeah. I wonder. I think I'm gonna ask. Yeah. So I work with Mercury Top.
Uh,
So I may ask the help him to help in the way of what in his role as alchemist to give me if there's a formula to put on those explosives that will neutralize them.
uh-huh.
Yeah, kind of like when you get a firework wet or get matches wet. They don't.
Right. Or it's an
They don't work.
intention. You screw up the reality of the device somehow. But you see, that's the thing. A lot of this stuff, of course, has got multiple levels of, key, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, but that sounds good. That would be awesome. But like I said, the first thing you got to do is find it. Oh God! And there's the bell.
Yep. Okay. Well, does that mean it's time to go?
No, maybe I can get this guy that just called me up to hang on. Although we do want to sort of wrap it up. All right, Skip, just hold on.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we can pretty much wrap it up. But is there obviously we're going to have to continue this conversation, and I'm going to probably want to continue to be involved in your exploits. But most of all, did you have a question real quick or something that you wanted to ask?
Well, I just wanted to remark and ask you if you've noticed that the name Rambo is like Rama.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, and then a story a friend of mine from India told me was that the way he told it, there was this this evil man. He was a murderer and a thief, and he was one of those who would trap travelers on the road and lure them to a place and kill them and steal their possessions. And he was known in the villages. He would be in between in the woods, and that I'm just going to say Lord Krishna walked up to him and had a beautiful instrument. And no, it was a guru. Okay, I'm going to change the story. There was a guru who played a beautiful instrument. It's a very simple instrument, but it's very beautiful. And he just walked around playing this instrument, and people fed him and showered him with gifts because his music and his voice was so beautiful. And the thief coveted the instrument and wanted to take it. And the musician said, "I'll offer up no resistance to you. I am just a simple traveler, and I know that." He basically said he knew he wasn't worried about dying. I'm not afraid of death. But I want you to know that I love you. And the murderous thief was taken aback like that, and he's like, "You're not going to fight? Well, this isn't any fun. I'm not even going to kill you. I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. I'm just going to tie you up to the tree and take your instrument." And so he tied the man up to the tree and took his instrument, and at some point he had a change of heart because he just saw this guy sitting in the tree, tied up to the tree and not resisting. And he's like, "I've never seen this in anyone before." And he said, "You can learn this as well. You can learn this power. You can learn to face anything and have no fear." And he said, "I would like to do that. How do I do that?" And he said, "You chant the name of Ram. Ram, Ram, Ram." So he starts chanting the name of Ram, but then he realized that he starts saying it backwards. So there's Ram, Ram, Ram. There's also a word that's Mara, which is, I think it's Mara, it's murder. And he said, "Oh no, I'm just chanting the word murder. It's not the right word." He goes back to the teacher, and the teacher said, "There is no difference."
Well, that's interesting.
And
well,
it's still the name of Ram because Ram is more powerful than murder. Murder doesn't mean anything.
All right, let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
all right.
good.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Since we're recording anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recorder.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll figure out what we'll do with this here, but obviously we're going to want to share this with people. You know, to tell you, I thought, okay, why would we want to record this? Now I'm listening. It's like, oh, and I realized, well, yeah, people are going to probably want to hear this. So.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Anyway, I'm going to turn off the recorder.